Hey everyone, welcome in. Really glad you were able to make time for this. I'm Sakshi from Loop, and today I'm joined by Nick from Klaviyo and my teammate Mohit from Loop. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we are going to walk you through something we've been building together, the email retention playbook for subscription brands. To give you a quick sense of the agenda, I'll start with a playbook with 3 retention plays, and Nick will then build one of them live for us in Klaviyo, and Mohit will close out with how Loop makes all of this work, and then we'll open up for some questions. But feel free to drop in any questions that we have in the chat as we go. We're saving time in the end for them, but we'll keep an eye out if we can answer any of them as we go. So, okay, I think I'm good to go ahead here. Anirudh, if you can share my screen, thank you so much. So before we get into the plays, I wanted to be clear about one thing, and that is what this session is about and what this isn't. So this session is about email as a retention tool. If you've come here for tips around writing better subject lines or how to get more clicks on your launch campaigns, this isn't that webinar, and that's intentional. Today is about one thing, using email as a retention tool. We're not upselling, we're not focusing on generic campaigns, we are only focused on retention, specifically for subscription brands, which means the goal isn't the next click, it's the next order. We will have 3 things that you will walk away with today. The first one being retention focus email plays. How do you segment subscribers by their behavior? And obviously, Nick is going to help us build one of these plays live. So this is not going to be just theory, but you'll also see a practical. And the reason we are so focused on this is because that's how most of the brands are using emails today, and especially the subscription brands. So what we have seen when we look at how subscription brands actually use email today, there are 2 buckets. On one side, you've got the logistics layer, order shipped, payment failed, upcoming order. They're transactional, they're functional, fine. On the other side, you've got campaigns, launches, promos, winbacks, which are blasted to the entire list. But here's the one thing that nobody really wants to hear. None of these are actually segmented by where the subscriber is actually in their journey. You have order shipped, you send same email to everyone. Payment failed, same win back to everyone. Upcoming order, same launch to everyone. We need to segment these by where these subscribers are in their journey. And we've all done this, right? We just keep sending one common email to everyone. But what gets lost when everyone gets the same email is that a subscriber who's at order 1 is not the same as subscriber at order number 8, right? They're not even close. The first one is still figuring out if you're worth the habit. The 8th one already trusts you. They already have you on their counter. They're already planning around your next delivery. If you send them the same email, you're either annoying the loyal one or you're losing the new one. So the email should reflect where they are, and that's what the whole playbook is in one sentence. A 10% off email lands very, very differently for someone on order 1 who hasn't decided yet versus someone who's already on order number 8 who would have ordered anyways, right? We just gave away that margin if you send that same discount to all of them. If you've ever felt like your email program is plateauing, this is usually why it happens. You're treating the journey like a single point. So what I'm going to start with is actually mapping the journey of where subscribers are and how do you map out your entire email plays on that. We've broken down the entire subscriber journey into 3 stages. If you see here, the first one, which is early, it is usually between order 1 to 4. This is also where they're at a highest risk. They haven't built the habit yet. The play here that we're talking about is setting up the onboarding cadences and streaks. Now, both of them are designed to help them get past this danger zone, which is where you want to turn them into a growing subscriber for you, right? It usually happens between order 5 and 7, where they're still forming a habit. But, life happens. Sometimes the cards might expire. Sometimes their schedule might change. They would want to skip a month. So the play here that we're talking about is skip. What do you do when they skip it? How do you help with payment recoveries and also cancellation winbacks? Once they've passed this order, they usually move into that loyal base or the VIPs, which is around order 7 plus. These are your power users. The play here are milestones, referrals, and upgrades. How do you turn their loyalty into more LTV? Now, each of these stages have different physics, different motivations, different risk, different right messages that you need to send across. And we are going to walk you through some of these plays in these stages today. Build habit, save before leaving, and recovering payment failures. These are the three things that we're going to touch about in today's session. Now, let's start at the very beginning of the journey, building habit, because this is where most subscription brands are bleeding. So, the first example here is how you can build a habit before the subscriber churns. This is the early stage play, and it is the single highest leverage thing most subscription brands are not doing. And if I talk about the data here, 70% of the subscribers who cancel, they do so before they even hit order number 5. 70% subscribers. That means most of the churn that you're fighting for in your win back flows isn't even loyal customers leaving. It's the people who have never built a habit in the first place. And when you look at where these cancellations are happening, the cancel, skip, pause buttons that you see, that's most of your subscriber portal traffic in the first few months. So if you're spending all your attention budget on win back flows for lapsed subscribers, you're treating the symptom. The play is to never let them get to that screen in the first place. So how do you build that habit? There are two things that works together here. The first one being onboarding cadence, where emails are timed for the first few orders that reinforces why they signed up in the first place. And with streaks, you can gamify that consistency. If you've used Duolingo, you know how they do it. They would want you to keep coming back to that. So we want to do something similar, but for your category. And this is what it would look like in a practice, right? You're on a streak. There's a visual bar that shows you how you're moving and a real reward unlocking at order number 3 and then order number 5. So you're able to see where you are and you would not want to break the streak. Now, you may ask like why this would work, right? The reward isn't really the discount here. It is the loss aversion that we are talking about. It's about playing on people's psychology. People will stay subscribed to not break a streak in a way that they want to chase a generic 10% off. Streaks can also be tied to a different type of subscription plans, products, whatever works for your category and whatever matches your brand's rhythm. And the way you can reinforce it is by hitting them at the actual order milestones. And not just once, but actually on every order milestones. Now, here's what a cadence could look like when it lands into their inbox. Order number 0, they've just subscribed. Welcome, here's your journey. Here's what's logged. Order 1 to 5. You're already giving them a sneak peek of this. Order number 3, free gift unlocked. Ships with the next order. The reward is real. It's tangible and it shows up. Order number 5, they've made it. Big save, 25% off. And the streaks gets reset with a new tier ahead of them once they've reached that order. So the objective here is that each email isn't a generic email. It shows where they are, what they've earned, what's next. That's a behavioral segmentation in action. And with all the data that we have available with the integration between Loop and Klaviyo, you can send these correctly. You would need order count as a profile property and the trigger event for each milestone. And Mohit will show you how Loop is actually sending all this data into Klaviyo. Now, that was one example, which was building habit. Now, if I talk about a different stage, which is in the growth stage, this is where, a subscriber is coming to cancel. So how do you save a subscriber before they leave? The moment a subscriber hits a cancel button and your existing flows pull them back. But here's what most of the brands miss when this happens. Most brands do have a cancel save flow on their portal. You hit cancel, the page offers you a pause or a discount and it works. Great. They stay. But here's what's the actual play about. The cancel attempt itself is a signal they almost left. So 15 days later, you need to follow up when the rescue flow has worn off, when the memory has taken it away. That's when the real follow-up email needs to land. And the key insight is you need to segment by the reason why they attempted to cancel in the first place and not just the action itself. So in this case, if a customer decided to pause the flows, follow up after 15 days with an email to restart the subscription. Just go back to them again when they decided to not continue their journey with the brand anymore. All right. The next example that I'm going to talk about is this is also one of my favorite and also I feel is the highest ROI play in the playbook. We're going to spend a little more time here because Nikki will also help us build this live within Klaviyo. Now, if you look here, payment failure is a churn which should not have become a churn. Failed payments are wild because they're not real churn. Almost nobody decides to leave by not updating a card. But how you're handling, and most of the brands are handling it today, is if the subscribers are gone, they decided to cancel it. We have seen roughly 20 to 40% of the involuntary churn for brands comes from failed payments. And that's the recoverable revenue sitting right on the table. So the fix isn't sending more emails, it's about sending the right email. And this is just one goal that I would talk about and, focus on is escalating urgency, but with one goal. Keeping the subscriber mashed to their exact failure stage. Don't make it like you want, your payment has been failed or your payment didn't go through on day one itself. Not like subscription has been paused on the day three before they've even seen the first email, right? Each email should assume the reader didn't see the previous one, and that's why the escalation works. It's not a sequence, but it should be treated as a state machine in which stage the customer is actually. And how this is actually going to look like on the stage one is should be like a soft reminder. Hey, quick heads up, we noticed something with your card. This is how we can get the details when we send all the details on cards which are close to expiry. So before it has even expired, that's where you send a soft reminders. Quick heads up, we've noticed something is wrong with your card, no alarm, no penalty. It's just a helpful nudge that you're doing for them. Stage two, that's where you show the urgency, where the payment has already failed. There are just 2 retries which are left and 3 days to fix. So the tone will shift here. The stakes are clear. Then the stage three, that's where it is about recovery. Subscription is already paused. So you talk about what is the additional incentive for them. And this is the last stage. So you've already tried the stage one and stage two, and then you're doing your last effort in terms of giving them an additional incentive to come back. Now you're actually treating it like a win back because functionally it is a win back. You are offering them and you are trying to get these customers back. The proactive play is to email before the card even expires, and that's what the stage one is all about. If you can prevent the entire dunning, do that. As I mentioned that we are sending the card expiring event to Klaviyo, you can build that flow using that. And why it matters so much for subscription brands. On one-time purchase, failed payment is just a lost sale. But on a subscription purchase, it's a lost lifetime. Every order they would have placed for the next 2 years, it just disappears. And you would not want to do that. And that's exactly what I would request Nick to help us build in Klaviyo right now. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to pass this to Nick to help us build the Dunning flow live in Klaviyo. Over to you, Nick.
Yep. Hey, what's up, everyone? Nick here. I've been at Klaviyo for 2.5 years, working with integration partners and brands, helping maximize their Klaviyo experience, their ROI. And yeah, I can show you a little bit about the Dunning flow and just generally like overarching how Klaviyo works. Just as like a quick reminder. Let's see. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. Just switch over. Okay, cool. Yep. Sorry to give everyone that infinite show. Okay, cool. So we're in a Klaviyo account. I'm sure many of you have seen Klaviyo before. Really like high level first, there's two main schemas within Klaviyo. You have profiles and you have events. Profiles is someone like me who has an email address or a phone number, and then the events associated with it. Maybe I placed an order, maybe I have some Loop subscription data that my payment's about to fail or I have an upcoming order. So that's kind of just to like show you guys where we're at. Let's actually just take a quick look at the Loop data coming into this demo account we have. So if we kind of like high level look, Loop's sending us like a lot of different data. We can see that the attempt failed for billing, the billing attempt failed and it'll be retried. We can see that a flow was completed, a subscription was confirmed, something was out of stock or was skipped, someone paused, reactivated, rescheduled. We can see, subscription started. So we have a lot of data with Loop kind of coming in. And so what I'd love to do is show you a little bit more about this data, how it works, and then create a flow, that Dunning flow that we were talking about, show you how you can use Klaviyo AI, focus it around retention. And then I also want to maybe highlight quickly like a segment and talk about how you can use your data, yet your Loop data, yes, for retention, but also for expansion that I don't see a lot of brands doing. So to dive in a little bit more with the metrics, let's look at this Loop billing attempt failed and last retry left event. Let's click into it real quick. And again, this is demo data, so there's not a ton of it here, but let's go into Akash. This is a Klaviyo profile. And what we can see on this page first is all of the custom profile properties about Akash here. We actually, Sakshi had mentioned like Loop order count here. So this comes through as a profile property. And so when you're creating flows within Klaviyo, you might want to use that to conditionally check where one of your customers is to be able to determine what kind of messaging you send them. If it's their first order, their fifth order, their 28th order, obviously you want to treat that a little differently, and Loop makes that easy. So one of the cool things about this is that we can get so much metadata about this billing attempt failed and last retry left. We can see how much the value of the order is, more about the customer, when the billing cycles are, all that information. The really cool part is that we get this payment failed link. And I'll just show you what this looks like here. And so what you're able to do within Klaviyo is when you set up these flows, you can dynamically pull in information from different events. And so for every email that you send, you can actually go ahead and kind of hyperlink this URL here to a specific call to action to reactivate or re-add their payment method. And just to show you what that looks like, imagine a customer is getting an email, you drop in this link, and they're immediately brought back to your site. They can add their card number, expiration date, all of that information, and they can update and place the order. Makes it like super simple, super easy to do. And again, all powered by this Loop Klaviyo integration, helping brands obviously just kind of recover a lot of this lost revenue. So I want to show you how to build this sort of Dunning flow that we've been talking about. And I'm actually going to switch over to a different account here. And let's see, let me refresh the page. And what we're going to do is actually click build your own. And we can just say create with AI. And you can build this manually or with AI. Let me actually just grab from a different sheet here, this prompt here, create a Dunning flow that is triggered off of the loop payment failed event, for example. We can click generate draft and Klaviyo will go through and really start to understand like what you're trying to do, the intent of obviously this natural language, and then turn that into a Klaviyo flow. And it might not be perfect, but it will be kind of a great start for you to go and start building and kind of lets you like do less of the thinking within Klaviyo. Perfect as live demos always do. We have a system error, but don't worry, I was prepared for it. I'll switch to this tab here, which generated from before when I had asked it to do it again earlier. So just to go over like what Klaviyo just built for us, we have this loop payment method expiring. This is what Sakshi was talking about earlier, something that we want to be keenly aware of. And so what we can do is, or what Klaviyo did in this case, was create this flow. So let's just go over it and I'll tell you how you can maybe edit it a little bit to be a little bit more specific to your customers and your brand.
Yeah, sorry. I think there is your screen is not moving.
Oh, is that right? Let's
Yeah.
see. Thank you guys for, let me see. Okay, give me one second. What are we seeing here? Okay, perfect. Can you see my other screen now too, or no? Still just only the Klaviyo one?
Yeah.
Yes, it's on the customer profile.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. No worries. Give me a second. We will go into this Klaviyo account. Give me one sec. You guys can see me switching in, right?
Yeah, yeah, we can now.
Okay, lovely. Sorry about that. I thought I was sharing my whole screen, but maybe I was just sharing just a window. So let me switch over into this Klaviyo account. Okay. So now we're back where I was before, trying to show you how to dynamically create a flow. Sorry about that. We can go into flow section here. We can say create a flow and we can just say build your own. And here we can just say create with AI. And this is where we're going to, well, where I just attempted and failed, but I guess we'll attempt again to generate a Dunning flow that is triggered off of the payment failed event. And again, Klaviyo should go through and create this for us. So let's go do that. And then if this doesn't work like it didn't just 2 seconds ago, then we'll just revert back to the other flow that I had made. Okay, cool. But lovely, it worked. So what this created within Klaviyo is, let me click edit in builder, is this stunning flow that, again, we can look at and of course, like update to be more specific to like what we want to show based on some specific custom profile properties, like how many orders someone has placed. So within Klaviyo, we can see this loop payment method expiring. So this is where we can see that, again, the payment method is going to expire. And so what Klaviyo created is a quick email template here, when you can go and select your template to go and try to recover that. This is like an update email. We can wait a few days. And then what we'll do is check to see, hey, have they actually updated their payment method? We can check to see if the loop payment method is still expiring in the next 30 days. So you can kind of go through and understand how easy it is to make these dynamic flows based on how your customers are, how their payment methods are expiring or not expiring. The one thing I'd like to kind of mention, to Sakshi's point earlier around being able to customize it a bit more, very easy in Klaviyo to add these conditional splits here. And so, to her point earlier, you might want to treat a customer with one order versus a customer with 10 order versus 20 orders a bit different. So what we can do is actually just go into obviously our Klaviyo account here and say the properties about someone, and we can actually look for the loop. Let's see, count the loop processed order count here. It's a little cut off. but we can say the Loop process order count, how many orders they've processed is, less than say 10 in this case. And I'll just click save. And if it's less than 10, we want to treat them maybe a little bit differently with some email, and the content around that email, as Sakshi was saying earlier. If they've placed more than 10 orders, then we want to obviously change the content saying, hey, you've been loyal for so long. Maybe we want to offer them a bit of a, richer discount or way to like get them back in a more enticing way. And so obviously you can go through the Klaviyo flow and continue to edit and kind of, trigger or split these conditions based on order processed, how much money they've spent with you, all of these different metrics that are really valuable. I'm not going to go in and actually create the emails because, that's a bit nitty gritty, but just know earlier when I showed you that URL where we can go in, I'll just put it over here, where we can go in and dynamically send people back to your website to add their payment method. All of that can be dynamically pulled into the email templates within Klaviyo. So cool. So while we have that, that's just kind of like a very, again, high level example of how to build this sort of dunning flow within Klaviyo. And again, they can get pretty complicated, but you can also make it super, super simple and super easy. One more account I want to show you, if I switch into the other Klaviyo account that we've been working in, this Loop demo account that we have, is just calling out two more other simple flows. And again, know that for each of these flows, you can go in and be able to edit them as you like. So let me go into this flow here and with this demo that I created. The first one is subscription paused. Let's go into this. And so here we can see that we're just saying, again, from the rich data that Loop is sending us, when a Loop subscription is paused, we can, in this case, wait 60 days, we can send an email, wait 30 days, another email, and you can continue to build this out as long as you like. The cool thing is that in this trigger, at every single step, we confirm to make sure that the Loop subscription has not been resumed since starting this flow. So Klaviyo will automatically remove people who are no longer relevant because they've restarted their subscription. And again, just to call out, obviously you can continue to add more dynamic data and conditionally split the content based on, how loyal your customer is, because that's quite important. One more to call out is again, very similar, just you'll kind of start to see a trend here, is Loop subscription canceled. Again, we make sure that the customer you're sending to has not started a subscription since they started this flow. We can go through and have this really long tail flow, 45 days, 60 days, another 60 days. We see some brands do this, but you can really have this span like over the course of 6, 9 months to be able to try and win back those customers, which is obviously so important. Okay, cool. So we went through some flows. You kind of can see some of the data coming in. You can see how valuable it is that some of that metadata with these URLs to be able to send customers very easily right from the email to adding their payment method. One more thing I'd like to call out is being able to segment and expand. So a lot of this has been around retention. And what I'd like to do is actually show you how you can use some of this Loop data to actually go and actually acquire new customers. So I actually don't have edit access. So I have to log out for just a second and then log back in. Apologies for this. Loop. Klaviyo.com. And so the idea around this is that, and of course, it's probably going to have me two-factor. Okay, no, lovely. So the idea around this is that you have all this data from Loop to understand who loves your brand and who's been subscribing for a long time. What would be really awesome is to be able to go and activate that data to then go try to acquire new customers. I know we're talking about retention, but I just want to call it out because I think it's so important. If we go to audiences and then lists and segments within Klaviyo, what we can do is create a segment here. I'll just call this demo. We'll call this like VIP. And so what I just really want to show real quick is, okay, what we can do is say, give me everyone who, for example, Loop, let's see, has a Loop order was processed, and we can say they've processed at least, 20 in the last, 360 days or whatever. Or maybe that doesn't make sense. We'll say like 10. You can kind of create the segment however you'd like to. You can further filter down by all the metadata that Loop is sending us. You can add conditions to make sure that they've haven't canceled. So we can say Loop, have order skipped, say, 0 times in the last 360 days. These are customers of yours who have processed a lot of orders and haven't skipped anything. These are like really high value customers of yours. So we're going to click create segment. And so again, this demo data doesn't have a lot in it, but what's really cool, and again, that's something that I don't see a lot of customers doing within Klaviyo, is leveraging this data to then go target on paid acquisition channels like Meta, for example. So I'll switch my screen into this Meta integration here, or Meta ads, and I'll click install just to show you this real quick. And so what you can do is easily connect your Meta Ads account. I should already be connected with my very old school Facebook account here. And so what we can do is just say custom audiences. And so now what you can do is I'll just select my personal account. We can select that VIP, that demo VIP segment we just made within Klaviyo that's updated every day, all the time in real time. And then if you're targeting customers on Meta in this case, you can go and create a similar audience and it will sync all of those customers to Meta and say this has 1,000 Klaviyo customers in it. You can then create lookalike audiences on these paid social channels like Meta to go find customers that are just like the customers you already have. And so, yeah, just really want to make sure I highlight that because that's something that can really help supercharge your paid acquisition channel. In addition to obviously leveraging your Loop data to really have that retention strategy. So anyway, quick overview of Klaviyo. Any questions? Obviously, let me know. But yeah, that's some of the data in Klaviyo, and happy to hand it back to Sakshi.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was amazing. And my personal favorite is actually the segmentation, where we are able to use this data beyond retention for acquisition as well. And as Nick was mentioning, we actually saw data for a lot of brands, and we realized that not even like 10% of them or 5% of them have been actually using this for acquisition. So I would highly urge you that if you are going after acquiring subscribers, definitely leverage that data that Loop is sending to Klaviyo to run your acquisition campaigns as well, beyond just the retention. So now I would like to invite Mohit to talk about what all data Loop is sending, because I'm sure like we talked about the strategy, we talked about how you can build this live in Klaviyo, but the most important piece here is how do all of this pull back together once and based on what data Loop is sending to Klaviyo. So Mohit, over to you to walk us through, everything that Loop powers on this for the data side.
Is my screen visible? Yep.
Yes.
Hey everyone, this is Mohit, product manager at Loop. I look after all the integration stuff at Loop. So I'll quickly walk you through like how the Loop and Klaviyo integration works and what are data that we send and what are the first step that you have to take right after connecting your integration. So if you log into the Loop platform, go under the app section and on the first app itself, you can find Klaviyo here. Once you click on connect over here, you'll be able to connect your integration with one simple step. You can click on the store that you want and you can give all the access for Loop to send all the data. And once you allow here, you'll be redirected back to the Loop customer portal. Now, as soon as you connect your integration, the first feature that I want to talk about is the sync existing customer data. This is especially for anyone who is actually migrating from another subscription platform onto Loop. And this is something that we strongly recommend as your first step right after connecting the integration, because when you're actually migrating to Loop, you're bringing over your entire existing subscriber base. But Klaviyo at this point doesn't know anything about these subscribers from Loop perspective yet. It might have their email address, it might have some basic profile information, but it does not have Loop specific properties yet, such as subscription status, plan details, next billing date, number of active subscriptions, etc. This feature right here fixes everything. So once you click here, Loop pushes all the subscriber properties onto Klaviyo customer properties. So your entire subscriber base is now updated and ready for you to market from day one. Once this sync is complete, here's what I recommend first for your next step. You can go onto Klaviyo and create a segment specifically for customers with inactive subscriptions, just as how Nick showed in the previous slide. And these are the customers who, these inactive customers are the ones who actually were your subscribers before, who showed intent, who purchased the products, but for whatever reasons, they seem to cancel their subscriptions and are no longer active. But this is still a very valuable audience for you. What you can do now is, as soon as the customer data is synced, you can head over to the campaign section at Loop and run the revive expired subscription campaign. As soon as you click here, you can personalize your audience based on different segments, either on Loop or on Klaviyo, and then you can select the channel as email, SMS via third-party apps like Klaviyo. Once you click here, you can incentivize your audience to activate their subscriptions and get a free product or add a free discount. And you can just simply click on save here, and all the campaign lists that you create here will be synced directly to your Klaviyo account. You'll be surprised to see like how many of these customers convert simply because you reached out at the right time with the right incentive and the right messaging directly from Klaviyo. The next feature that I want to talk about is triggering your sample events directly from Loop to Klaviyo. Once you're connected and your existing data is synced, the next step is to set up your event triggers. Once you click here, you'll be able to see the all the events that are sent from Loop to Klaviyo directly onto your Klaviyo app. If you want to see what all events are sent, you can just head over to the integration overview and see the list of all the events that are being sent from Loop to Klaviyo. Here's a quick breakdown. You'll be able to see that all the events are actually grouped under different entities. For example, if there is any subscription status which is being changed, so you'd know that you have to look under the subscription events like subscription created, paused, expired. And there are different entities for which you have to specifically look for. For example, if you want to specifically target your customers based on the order processed, order skipped, order upcoming, then you can look over the order entity. And similarly, we have multiple events like payment attempted, flows, orders, subscriptions, and gift subscriptions. One important event that I want to highlight over here is the lines change event. For all the lines or the products that are being changed onto Loop subscriptions, you'll be able to see the updated information on Klaviyo as well. This becomes helpful if you have different segments based on the products that customers are purchasing on their subscriptions. Each of these events becomes an opportunity for you to send a timely, relevant, personalized communication to your subscriber. And that's really the core value that we are proposing with this integration, because you're not sending emails in batches to your customers, but you are actually communicating the subscribers in real time as soon as they take any action on their subscriptions. Now, if I specifically talk about any of these event payloads, let me just open this. You can actually view the event details directly by clicking on any of those events. So, for example, if we look at the subscription cancelled payload, right? There are two types of data that loops actually send to Klaviyo. One is the event properties. This captures the specific of what just happened on that particular subscription. For example, if a subscription is cancelled, the event properties will include like what is the specific reason this subscription was cancelled for, and why they cancelled, and what are products that they have, etc. So you can actually reach out to them saying, "Hey, you cancelled for this particular reason," and you can actually segment your customers based on that specific cancellation reason as well. The next thing that I want to highlight which can be much more important than the event properties are the profile properties. So as soon as any of the events are sent, profile properties get updated and refreshed on the customer subscriber as well. So every time an event fires, Loop is also saying to Klaviyo that, hey, here's the latest information about this customer, the subscription status, how many active subscriptions that they have, what is their next, when is their next orders, what products they were subscribed to. All of that get refreshed automatically. Since profile properties are being continuously refreshed by Loop, your Klaviyo segments are always accurate. So you can build segment based on different subscription status, number of active subscriptions, a subscription duration, the products that they are subscribed to. And these segments update dynamically. So as a customer subscription status changes in Loop, they automatically move in and move out of the segments in Klaviyo directly. This actually opens up a huge range of targeted communication strategies. For example, you can create a segment for VIP segment and who have been with you for over an year and reward them with exclusive offers. You can parallelly, like you can create a subscriber segment who is at risk, who have recently paused or skipped their orders, and you can reach out to them proactively before they cancel the subscription. And I think I won't directly go into the Klaviyo and show you how this works because I think Nick has covered this perfectly. So these are some things that I wanted to highlight over here. And just to summarize, the Loop Klaviyo integration gives you real-time, deeply connected marketing layer on top of your subscription engine. So from syncing your existing customers from day one to triggering precise event-based communication and to building dynamic segments that keep your messaging relevant, this integration has been one of the most effective tool from any of our merchants who has been with us from day one. And over to you, Sakshi.
Thank you so much, Mohit, for that walkthrough and summing it all together. Anirudh, can you pull up my screen again? I just wanted to again reiterate that, as Mohit mentioned, we have all the data that we send across for all the plays that we talked about, which is either around dunning, about product specific ones where you want to upsell, cross sell, reason based specifically around cancellation flows, as well as journey based, which is order level. So for any of your flows that you want to run in, we have all of that data available. The best part is you can also use of the quick action URL that that Nick showed for updating the payment, that can be used across different other plays as well, whether it's about swapping the product, adding a product, reactivating, or even for cancellation reasons, they do not require any login. It's pre-authenticated link which is sent, and hence it avoids any other friction that can come in just because you have to guide them to another login portal or they have to keep toggling between the tabs. So none of that has to happen here. It can be just powered with one quick action link. So in total, obviously, as Mohit said, we have 27 events and 19 properties that we send across to Klaviyo, which are synced real time, and there are 8+ quick action that can be powered in the retention email that you send via Klaviyo. And for everyone attending, we have packaged all of this that we covered today. So we just covered 3 plays on this webinar because of the time, but we have also added 5 more plays out of all the 8 that I talked about on the specific link. If you remember the slide where I talked about the different subscriber growth subscriber journeys across the 3 different phases, we have put all those 8 plays together in this playbook. We also have included all the Klaviyo AI prompts that you would need to build each of these. There are also email examples, and our partners at Yocto, Everboost, Magnet Monster, as well as Xscale has helped us put together some of the templates for them. And the full data for the reference on what you would need where, everything is included as part of this detailed playbook that we have. So you would basically have everything that you would need to run these campaigns for your brand or for your customers. If you see, there's already a link in the chat right now where you can just click and download the playbook. That's free and yours to keep. There is no demo required. Just take it. And if you want to walk through any of your specific setup, there is a QR code right now on the screen on the top right corner where you can just scan it and book a demo with us. We'll walk through your stack and we'll help you in terms of how you can implement some of these. Honestly, I would say that take a playbook even if you're not on Loop right now. The plays work regardless. You just have to wire up the data based on what tech stack you are using right now. But we just wanted to share it because we thought it would help you regardless with the strategy. And if you would love to talk to us, this is the QR code for you to sign up and book some time with us. I think that's all that we had in terms of what we wanted to cover from our side. We would love to take any specific questions that you have. We still have 5 minutes remaining, so please feel free to drop us any questions that you have in the comment section that we haven't covered so far. I see Tyler had some question around if we can trigger streak rewards messages in Klaviyo emails. Yes, we can. We send all of that, and that was a part of the first play that we talked about. So using the order level data, you can definitely get all of this in there. And yes, we will share the detailed recording as well for you, but this playbook has everything that you would need for running these campaigns. We just wait for a few more seconds if any of you have any questions before we close it. Perfect. I think we were detailed enough and we were able to cover everything that people could have had questions around. Thank you so much, Nick, for your time. This was really, really helpful and loved building this up with you. Thank you, Mohit, for driving this integration from Loop side to ensure that we have all the data that the brands would need and the partners would need to run these campaigns. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Thank you for your time once again, and we really hope that this playbook is helpful for you. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time if you have any questions. Thank you.